All right, so we are live on YouTube. Welcome, one and all, to Ash and Jeff's morning show. Learn to trade live and free, and we are looking at stock markets that have had a pretty intense boost to the upside, and I'm really looking for that to continue. I'd quite like to. I'd like to buy this market again. I was just talking to you, Jeff. Sorry, I've just. Yeah, just talking to you a little while ago, Jeff. I've got protection already in play, but I'm actually looking to flip positions here on this market and go long. And I'll leave the shorts where they are for right now, but it needs to come back to a much better level than we've got right now. Just see a little potential trend line on the RSI that it could dip back into. And
I think
that
it's a mystery to us both, isn't it, really, as to why there would be positivity going on at the moment.
Yeah,
For
I
me,
think so,
anyway.
mate. Yeah, I mean, they kind of had this vaccine announcement that they'd found this vaccine in the for the coronavirus, but the World Health Organization have come out and dispelled those myths, if you like. So I'm not really sure why we are still, looking at a market which is quite as strong as it is. But
Yep, beats the heck out of me.
yeah, that's where we are, mate. Anyway, but no big deal. It's if that's what we got to deal with, that's what we got to deal with. But as I say, I'm looking long, but just not in this area. I'd quite like it down at the daily pivot, and at that point, I would be quite happy to flip my positions to some long entries instead, I think. But that's going to be around about it, mate. Now we got Lagarde out later, which could actually drive the market down just a little bit. So I'm just looking to see what the evidence is that might happen. There's a little bit of resistance at the top as well, which it might well bash its head against. Now we've closed the gap up here as well. There's the resistance point there, and we've just closed this gap at the same time. So the market does actually have a green light to come down now as it goes. But I just can't trade against it anymore. What I'd quite like to see is a huge dip down here, give me a right shoulder, and then we can actually start to look at seeing if the market will actually give us a genuine accumulation pattern, and at that point we go long.
I can't see us on YouTube. Can you see us on YouTube?
Oh, okay. Is that my fault? Is it?
I don't know.
Yes, it might well be my fault. Okay, let me just see if I need to share. There we go. There we go. How was that?
I'll tell you when the the result comes up.
It should be. Any better?
Not yet. Not yet, but it probably takes a little while to warm up. Instant instant technology.
Yeah.
It's like the old Valve. Do you remember Valve radios?
No.
Probably don't. Okay.
No.
I was actually working as a sound operator back in those days. Still, yeah, we're back. We're right now.
Okay, great.
And the mixes that to be fair, we had gone to a whole new world in transistors and things like that. But I was still mixing sound with an RCA 6, maybe I think it was called, and it was very much a valve job. So when you pull the cover off the panel, all these valves, man, and they were massive, just incredible looking things, and the power that it must have taken to drive all those things must have been amazing. So yes, we have come a fair way since those days. I must have.
Yes.
My age now.
Well,
anyway, that's got little to do with what you're talking about. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, I was just looking at just this area here as a potential reversal area. So if you're not long, I mean, I'm not getting long here. I've balanced my position as I did yesterday, but what I'd quite like to do is get long at a drift, and I am looking for the market to come down at this point, and maybe sort of this area. But as I said earlier, what would be the ideal is if we have a genuine drop down here, get to that monthly pivot. That would be a really good area. It's got quite a lot of work to do to get down there. So I doubt that would happen. Right, we just opened up. The market is now open. So let's just have a quick view here, mate. But otherwise, shall we go and deal with the pound trade?
Sure thing. Let's do that. We had a small loss yesterday, only 6.8 pips on our risk, which was about where we want to be with our losses, to be fair, unlike the January losses, which were far more substantial than desirable and numerable, I've got to say, or numerous. So what have we got today? We've got this bar here on the hourly chart, which will get us, hopefully, above the daily pivot for our entry long. We'll deal with the short first because we're down there, I guess. The entry level will be 1.2970, which is 10 pips below the low of the bar. 1.29. Buy stop, no. Sell stop, yes. Did I say 2980?
Yes.
70. If I did say 80, I was wrong. It's 70. So that's the entry short. The stop loss will be 15 pips above the high, which is 1.2996. So 1.3011. That number keeps coming up. 1.3011. That was one of our entry / stop losses yesterday, and maybe even the day before. All right, so there it is. That's that order, and now we'll flip flop that one and place the long, which will be a buy stop, and the level will be, we all know that level because I've just mentioned it about 3 times, 3011, and the stop loss will be 1.2970. Look at that memory, Ash. It's as sharp as a tack.
Oh, mate, impressive.
I'm back to reminding the elephants again.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. The order's in the market, and the long is at 1.3011. Stop loss 1.2970, and Vicky Verky for the short 1.2970 for the entry, and 1.3011 for the stop. Now, yesterday, was that the bar? No, it wasn't. Maybe yes, it was. I think it was actually. Why am I seeing 1 o'clock down here? Because my chart's not updating. Refresh. Okay. All refreshed. Apparently not. There we go. Now we're better. So that's the 9 o'clock bar. That's the one we traded. So we entered the market here, and here am I fearful of going short. And what happened? This pound, man, it's just so hard to catch at the moment. It's not funny. So the entry was go away, Bill. We've got 1.3038 becomes 5.3. So that makes our entry about there-ish. There we go. I had it close enough. And that's a bad entry, as you can see, but on the 15-minute chart, it wasn't as bad as it could have been because we're trailing 2 bars, don't forget. So our stop loss moved to there after this bar. So 2 bars trailing. Stop loss moved to there, which cut our risk back substantially. Then it moved to there on the back of these 2 bars, and that was as good as it got because we got taken out with this bar here. So small loss, 6.8 pips on a risk of, can't remember, but it was, I haven't updated the spreadsheet and I'm hopeless for that. I must apologise. Promise it will be updated for Monday and we can have a look at exactly where we stand on this particular scenario with only, what have we got? a fortnight to go on this beta period, and then we'll be turning it into or scrapping it. I'm not committed to it yet, turning it into a system to trade, but that is 2 weeks away before we kind of make that call. But I think the risk yesterday, let me go back to that candle, was that candle was 37,208, 29 pips plus 25, so 54 pips, and we lost 6.8. So wasn't the end of the world, so to speak. Mate, should we come back to you, because obviously I don't trade the first candle of the UK session?
Yeah, just watching the market here.
I'm stick with the pound first, or do you want to go with yourself?
Oh, have you done the pound trade? Sorry, I'm just focused here on the FTSE. Just watching the FTSE. I see a little bit of weakness here, mate. I think we're going to get our we should get our trade, but
okay, we'll come back to you then.
Let's have a quick look here. I'm going to have to do one thing before I do that. There we go. Get rid of that. Yeah, just see a little bit of weakness up here. So actually, not a bad little. Well, if I don't think I'd want to go short here necessarily. But where's
I think you need to take the screen. Do I need to stop?
No, you might need to. I can't find it. You know what? It's playing me up today.
Must be the cold weather, mate.
Yeah, do you know I had a terrible night actually here. We've had a bad night's sleep. Might be that. Okay, here we go. And it's making me a bit dopey. There we go. Right. So yeah, just seeing maybe just a little bit of weakness up here. I don't see a huge amount of positivity. I know we're cruising. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, mate.
Yeah, I know we're cruising here to the upside, but I'm not 100% convinced we're going to get through here, mate. I think that there might be just a little bit more downside. Now, Christine Lagarde, that's the big thing, isn't it? She's currently speaking, and I wonder, it's difficult to know.
She's speaking now, is she?
Yeah, she is, and let's just bring that up very quickly. We don't have. That
might clear some passage. I don't mind that.
Yes, it might. Yeah, absolutely might. So I do see. I don't see a huge amount of positivity with her
Kirk
speaking.
Douglas died. Well, there you go.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. So yeah, so she's currently chatting away, due to testify about the economy and monetary policy before the European Parliament. So actually, this is quite a significant statement here. But I don't. So far, I haven't seen a great deal of positivity. Now, I'm going to be a little bit careful. I'm just going to get set up just in case these positions flip. Because if you got to go long here, you just got to go long here. But right now, I don't see enough information that suggests to me that we should. So let me just make sure I'm prepared.
Do you want to have a spell?
No, that should be okay, mate. It should be okay.
Okay. Yep.
Should be okay. Okay. Is that today? Yes. So it's this one here. Yeah, it's going to be kind of tricky for us because we don't know when this starts and ends, but this looks like it might well be the release. I might have to read that later on, but yeah, without hearing, I don't know. But I'm just seeing a little bit of weakness here, mate. As I said before, we are at a fairly significant level of resistance here. The market has tried to get itself up an atom, but it's just not been able to do that. So I think cutting back a little bit more would be fairly probable, I'd say at this point. I think there's a decent chance that we could actually start to ease back a little bit from this point. So I think I feel fairly comfortable now looking possibly for this daily pivot. So let's see if we can get that first and foremost, and after that, let's see what happens. But we may well just be putting in. Look at this this is a 5-minute chart here. May well be putting in a 5-minute reversal bar at these particular levels. So there might even be a little trigger to suggest that the downside, it does have a little bit more likelihood. This area here is as I said earlier, fairly significant, because when we look at this on a 4-hour chart, it does have an area that would probably just about keep the downward structure intact. But yeah, I'm not seeing a great deal of positivity at this particular stage, mate. But let's see what happens. We've just had our first 5 minutes, first 10 minutes, sorry. But the second 5 minute was this bar here. Not really knowing whether Christine Lagarde is still speaking. It could just explode to the upside. But I think for right now, let's just look for the easing back a little bit. Activity looks like it may well have just calmed down a shade, but nothing else to report except for that right now. I suppose I'm attentively watching this because I am looking to get the long now. I'm looking to flip positions, but for right now, I just don't see why we would. And in actual fact, if anybody wants to look for another short, then this isn't probably the worst area to try and do that. To be fair, mate.
Yeah, look, that previous bar, if I'm looking at that on a four hour time frame, I'm getting pretty excited. So,
Yeah.
yeah, why not? I'm not a 5 minute charter, but that looks fairly interesting to me, I've got to say. Christine Lagarde, I think the market's been, well, if I can speak on behalf of the market, which probably I can't,
Oh, of
you know,
course you can.
I will anyway.
Yeah.
I think the market's been waiting for her to make a move. I wonder, is this the opportunity that she needs? She's right in front of the right people.
Yeah, well, we're in a little bit of the dark here, aren't we, mate? Because I haven't got a clue what she's saying. Not that I'd necessarily want to have to react off it, but I do usually like to hear what's going on. I'll tell you what, I've got so many things going on my screen right now because um, well, you know what it's like, when you're in management mode, it just kind of like it makes trading just that little bit trickier. So I
It
have to
does
be,
indeed.
so
Well,
I'm trying to focus on about eight things, at the
why
same
don't we let
time.
you do that, and I'll go around the grounds on the currencies and see what I
Yeah,
can
that's
see.
not a bad idea, mate. But just to reiterate, I don't see why we would, at this particular stage, looking at these bars and looking at the price action, I don't see why we go through here. And actually, I quite like the downside from this particular point. So, everybody make your own choice on that, and you probably will be going short to go long. But I don't see the short being the worst thing in the world here.
Okie doke. From what I'm seeing, nor do I. Okay, let's take a look at what I'm looking at. Take a look at what I'm looking at. Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, the pound pound trade hasn't triggered. We got a fair bit of non-movement yesterday whilst we were waiting for this to trigger, and eventually it did long. And of course, as has been the case most often lately, we got a little bit of a rubber band happening, and up we went, down we came, and now we're presented with this bar here, which is a higher low. If I'm thinking about trading the pound today, which really I'm not, I've got to be frank. I've got to wait until price gets back above this trend line here, which is, it's been here for the longest time, back to October. We go and we've had, pip perfect tests of it and mini breaks, just can't get through it. And so we're presented with a triangle and a rectangle and a bigger rectangle and horizontal level and pivots all over the place. Is there any wonder why we're confused? The wonderful thing about that, of course, is that when all of these things come together, big things happen. So when this moves, I think it's going to move substantially, and I want to be a part of that, of course. How do I approach that? Well, on the daily chart, it's very clear that I need to wait for price to get back into here or above this level here, and then pull back to it. Then I can trigger it along. But at this point in time, I can't go anywhere because I'm trapped by this trend line and this trend line and the bottom of the range and the pivots. As I said before, this is just a complete and utter shambles in terms of short-term trading. Not really palatable, I've got to say. But if I look at this chart and as we go intraday, it's pretty clear to me what I need to do. And what I need to do here is follow the lead. And the lead says, okay, every time we come here, we don't like it down here at 129.60 or whatever it is, because we keep bouncing off it. We keep bouncing off that trend line as well. we've been presented with, I'll call it a tweezer bottom, for want of a better expression, because I don't consider it to be a tweezer bottom. Tweezer bottoms happen at the bottom of something more substantial than this range is. Although, having said that, we're now into the month area of this range. So, when you've got a bottom as we do, and you get a higher low, or is this a higher low? It's arguable, isn't it? So, what I'm saying is it's not clear here. What I need to see happen is get away from this area, then pull back, clear it, and maybe something like this would suit me. So, up to the daily pivot, maybe even break the daily pivot, and then pull back to where we've got that entry long on the pound. I think that's probably a reasonable opportunity to go long at that point, trading it back to the top of the range. And, as I've said all week, I think the pound is tradable, but at very low risk and only pretty much as a range trade. We've got a nice range here to trade. There's no question. You could consider that to be a higher low if you wanted to on the back of this double bottom. I can't argue with that. But you're trading straight into an untested daily pivot as well. So the path isn't clear to here. Let it break, let it come back, and then you've got a far a higher probability of actually making some money here, I believe. So that's what I'll be waiting for on the pound today. I know I'm on a 4-hour chart, and that's all well and good. It can happen on any time frame, but you want this daily pivot to be tested before you go long, in my humble opinion. That is what my focus will be in any case. So let's move on from the pound and go to the pairs that I have been stalking, really. I'm just a PREYING on these to find an opportunity to go short the Aussie. Why? Well, I can't count the reasons, to be fair, from a fundamental point of view. It's just in a horrible strife, bushfires.
Yeah, it's crazy, mate. We had a big thing about there's a new coal plant attempting to open in the UK, and they said that they are.
They're brave.
Yeah, they said they're practically carbon neutral. I mean, when the report was kind of
clean coal, eh?
Well, when they dug into it, it was like, they realised that there was absolutely no way that it's carbon neutral. But they talked about importing coal, and one of their arguments is that it would be cleaner because there would be local coal, so you wouldn't have to import so much from other countries, which is the most ridiculous argument I heard about the
it reduces the carbon footprint, but it doesn't make it clean.
Yeah, this is it. So I don't know how Australia are going to manage really with all that stuff.
Yeah, that thrown in, iron ore prices have tumbled big time. Throw that in. Okay, we didn't cut interest rates, but I didn't see anything hawkish about the statement from Philip Lowe either. And he addressed the press yesterday, and I quoted that yesterday, what he did say. And take one paragraph out of context, and you've got him cutting interest rates. Take the next paragraph out of context, and you've got him not cutting interest rates. So
yeah.
So
what's he doing?
He's not doing anything right now. He's waiting.
Yeah.
He's waiting to see the numbers as they fall. But the biggest hint we got yesterday, and I pointed this out in the show yesterday, the biggest hint we got from Philip Lowe yesterday was the next unemployment figure. If that is, and we got it right, was it unemployment today? No, it was trade balance today.
Yeah, it was trade balance. Wasn't it retail sales as well?
And retail sales, yes, both misses, as I recall. The next unemployment figure will pretty much tip the scales for the RBA. So I think we hit 5.1, if I'm not wrong. And
unemployment, yeah.
The rest of the world is like 3 point something. So we do have a way to catch up, if you like. But if that went to 5.2, 5.3, or anything over 5.1, then we are probably starting to talk. The balance will go back in favour of interest rate cuts. So that number, when it is posted, is very, very important, and keep it in your memories, guys. Have we had it this week? I don't know. I can't remember.
No, I'm not sure about that.
Oh no, it's Kiwis. Kiwis have had unemployment.
But you put a lot of weight on that, do you?
Absolutely. Well, he did.
Right.
Have I still got that statement? I don't think I do. What a shame. I had that statement and read from it yesterday. What a bugger. I wish I did. But that's exactly what he said. Sorry, I can't quote him, but he said much will depend on the unemployment rate. So if that continues to trend down, no drama, we're okay. But if it spikes back up, then interest rates are back on the table. So yeah, watch that space very, very closely. But that said, his statement to the press, and I didn't hear the questions and answers, I must say, but his statement to the press was not, well, it was bland. Let's put it that way. I'll call it neutral. And I don't think the Aussie dollar needs a neutral statement right now to rally. I think it needs something more than that because of the fundamentals in play.
Yeah.
Coronavirus is just the icing on the cake for me. And when I look at this chart, which is Aussie yen, a risk on currency versus a risk off currency, I don't get it.
No, I don't get it, mate. It's I find the whole thing with what's happened with the markets recently just a huge surprise. I mean, the FTSE is actually showing some further signs of weakness this morning, but Dow Jones making fresh highs, S&P making fresh highs. It's just, are you kidding me? I mean, what is going on? And as I said to you off air, V-shaped recoveries are just hideous. They are the worst things to have to try and trade because there's no pullback. Well, there is pullback, but the pullback doesn't come for, it can be weeks, it can be months,
Yep.
And when it comes hard, which again is just hard to trade. You just want a market which is just a bit, just give us something a bit more gentle. Just like breakout retest, something like that would be great, wouldn't it? But just the cyclicity in the market right now, and I wonder whether is that where we're at, mate? I was lying in bed this morning just thinking, yes, of course I've seen periods like this before, but is that the world we live in now, where everybody, because it's all twitchy on the news, and there's no two ways about it. News flow is so much more accessible than it ever has been. Yesterday's news article was from Sky. We had Sky News and bang, the market went. And I was kind of like, having to hedge a position, but not knowing why. And it was only probably about 10 minutes after the event that I learned that Sky News had reported that there was potential vaccine for Corona. But it just appears that the market goes down on facts and up on speculation because it just wants to buy and it wants to buy and it wants to buy. But it's proving to be a very difficult period, I think, to trade, and I don't know whether that's just me, mate, but I don't think this has been the case, all year by any stretch. I know we're only in February, but I mean all 12 months period. But I do think things have changed a little bit.
Look, at the end of the day, I see what I want to see early in the week, and it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Until very late in the week. That seems to be a trend for me at the moment. I don't know whether that's coincidental or just random. I don't know. I really don't know. But that's exactly what seems to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I have been.
That's an interesting point as well.
As you know, extremely bearish the Aussie for the longest time. And I really can't complain here if, and as you said before, if it doesn't go bang like that, then I'm okay, because I'll get a warning. I'll get some sort of signal that this is going to return to trend. Not that I'm a trend trader, but to me, the weight of fundamentals cannot keep this in the air. I just don't get it. And if it stays rallying, then something's completely out of whack with what I think and what I've learned and over 13 or 14 years of trading. Yes, so I'm agreeing with you. Something is amiss here.
Yeah.
But if it does exactly what I see that it can and should do, then all I can say is, well, we're just in slow motion. That's the only thing I can say.
Yeah.
I mean, this move up was certainly not slow motion, and when you see a move as strong as that, and you go into consolidation, you start to think, well, we don't start to think. What generally happens next. What generally happens next is bang, we keep going.
Yeah.
Once you've got a strong move like that.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't make sense to me for that to happen. It's not on my radar. As I said before, the Aussie is a risk-on currency, and the yen is very much a risk-off currency. So why are we risk-on right now? That just doesn't make sense to me. So I can bang on about it forever, and I'm probably saying the same thing 100 times over, but really that's where I'm at. But if we get the signals, who cares? At the end of the day,
Yeah.
we can still trade it. We can be confused as we like as to how long it takes to do that. But the minute I see this dip under here, and have a retest, well, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to load up on this, and I don't care what currency it's against. Anything will do.
Yeah.
So yeah, nothing's changed, mate. I'm still waiting for those signals. I would love to see resistance break on all of these pairs, and it has on Aussie yen. That pleases me greatly.
So so you like the Aussie for a short, effectively.
Yes.
Now I was looking at the Euro Aussie yesterday and thinking that looks like a really good spot on the daily charts. It looks like it kind of like it attempted to break out, but it looks to me like it's retraced right the way back down. So a little bit of a double bottom down there as well. What do you think about that, considering the Euro? I don't know. Actually, I'm not looking at the chart myself now, which I should do while talking about it, because obviously Christine Lagarde has just been out. But yeah, what do you think about that? That looks okay, doesn't it?
For a short?
For a long Euro. If you were short Aussie, then long Euro Aussie.
Yeah, I don't see that. What I see, hang on a second, I'll go a little bit wider. What I see is we've rejected the top here again, not for the first time in 2019. Interesting bars, aren't they? Really big, long tails on them. But we've come back inside this range. So to me, I'm waiting for a lower high here to go that way.
Right.
What are you seeing on the daily chart? I guess on the weekly chart, where it might be interesting. But at the end of the day, for me, we're really right up here with the clouds.
Right. So you don't like that on the daily either?
No, the daily's telling me we're back inside the range.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I get that, mate. I get it. Yeah,
it's a little bit ugly, I've got to say. The range isn't perfect, but
yeah,
it's kind of there. So I'm waiting for a rally. I'd agree with that part. So that rally could turn into a B, C that way, no question. But that's what I'm looking for. Looking for a rally here, probably back to the monthly pivot area. So if on the smaller time frame you fancy a long, I can definitely go along with that.
Okay.
I can definitely go. And is this the double bottom you're talking about? That's on a 30-minute time frame.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I can see that. Want to see a higher low here, I think, and that would do. Take some profit before the daily pivot. Take much more off at the monthly pivot, and then see what happens. Yeah, I can go along with that, because I do want to see this rally to here, no question.
Yeah, I think it was more really because you were saying about being bearish the Aussie, and I wondered whether the Euro would be would be
Yeah,
you
not a
know.
good proxy because I'm bearish the euro just
Okay.
well, not just as much.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm bearish the euro as well. Reason, well, let me count the ways, I suppose. But it all goes back to and you'll remember this, Ash. You'll remember this channel that we put on the chart. God knows when. I think when it just started to
Yeah.
form.
Yeah.
Back
I do
here
remember.
in 2018, 2019, and it just cannot get out of here. And every time it hits the low, it wants to go to the high. It did that. Every time it goes to the high, it wants to go to the bottom. This consolidation period has been substantial, the most substantial consolidation period that we have seen since goodness knows when. How far do we go back? Probably 2016 or something like that. This is interesting because of that reason. So from a horizontal level point of view, it's very substantial. But the only way I see this panning out, and could see this panning out once we came back into this range, exactly as I've just described on Euro Aussie, was to take this back to the bottom and then see what happens. So that looks to be unfolding, and I can't get away from that. So
Yeah.
I can't be anything but a bear until we get down to here at least, and then see what transpires. I suppose. I guess when you look at the level that we're currently at, and this is a daily chart, you know, it is substantial support. It's 110. Throw that in as well. You know, it's 110 the figure, so that's substantial. You would expect some sort of rally here, and that's what I've been waiting on. I've been waiting on a rally here so I can get short. So I'd love to see this back at the weekly pivot or even back at the monthly pivot. That would be okay also. Then I can trade it down to there. This was the bar to trade, and I said this, 3 weeks ago. Here was your entry right here, and that's exactly what we're looking to do all the time. If you look at this from another point of view, let's call this a head and shoulders. There was another way to trade this. If you missed that one, then there was another way to trade this, because there's your neckline pretty clear, and there's your break, and there's your retest. There's your entry. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And now we've come back. Unfortunately, an untradeable lower high here, which didn't quite make the monthly pivot, and that's what we're waiting on last week. We're waiting on a test of the monthly pivot so we could get short. Didn't happen. So, we're left out in the cold there. But, any retracement back to the weekly pivot really does get me interested, euro dollar. But as far as a long is concerned, no, I can't be a euro bull right now.
Right, that's fair.
Down to here.
Well, we'll have to hear what Lagarde said as well, I suppose, to convince us that a long euro might be an option. But aside from that, I agree with you.
Intraday,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I can do that. We can certainly bring it back to here or here.
Yeah.
Don't have an issue.
Okay, mate.
Whoa,
all right.
Okay. There's what she said. She drove us straight to the daily pivot.
Right. Well, interesting. Yes, it is, because the FTSE 100 continues to ease down right now, and obviously they didn't. The markets so far, European markets haven't enjoyed Christine Lagarde's speech. I'm just going to have a quick look around the grounds. Oh God. Actually, Cacaron is creating some sort of shooting star, and moving to the downside as well, looking pretty bearish. Same on the DAX. Eurostoxx 50, exactly the same. Whether you want to bring these up, mate, or I'll bring them up later, is fine.
If you can, mate. Yeah, I don't have all of those on
yeah,
the charts.
Okay. Let me show you guys what's going on here.
Ravinda, I have read all your stuff, and we'll chat about that in a sec. Sorry, there's been a little bit going on.
So look at this. This is the Cacaron, and when we look at the Cacaron on a 4-hour chart here, this is what we end up with. Look at that. I mean, it's a shooting star, huge gap up there. It's now closed this gap here, so it's got a green light to come down. But this is going to be an interesting one. I don't know whether this closes in the next half an hour as well as the FTSE futures, because I don't usually look at the Cacaron, but I'm pretty sure it will do. So if that one was to close like that, that's going to look like a shooting star on a 4-hour chart, fairly significant. The DAX is the same. We have this gap and this and this bearish looking candle forming. So it doesn't look like it doesn't look like the market particularly like what Lagarde had to say, and which is quite surprising because you'd expect to see really the euro going in the opposite direction. Which let's just have a quick look at if that's the case. It is not, is it? The euro is looking pretty negative down there. So she's obviously said something pretty damaging, mate.
It surprises me that it's doing it now after those
Yeah.
days, yes. Because I mean, as I said before, the market's been waiting for her to stamp her authority, I guess, and say and point the euro in the right direction, and it just doesn't seem to have happened yet.
No, well, the FTSE 100 is not able to catch a bid right now. I'm still looking at this daily pivot to see whether that could be a spot, but if it isn't, then we may well just ease back down to this point, mate, which would down to the monthly pivot. So let's watch out for that area. That's the area of interest for me, the monthly pivot. But that's 100 and something pips to the downside. So we get down there. I think things are going to look
right shoulder as well, I suppose, doesn't it?
Inverted.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, so it becomes the inverted right shoulder, which is why I wouldn't mind picking up down here. But in saying that, easing back into this area is going to be, especially on the 1 day, that's going to be a fairly bearish move to the downside, mate. So I'm going to be watching this with interest. But my first point of call is probably somewhere around here in this area. But I'd love to see this daily pivot and see what happened and how the market reacts around there. But right now, still easing to the downside, and I suspect it was from what was heard from Lagarde, but yeah, that's the picture right now. Still a little bit bearish. It looks like it may be trying to carve out something down here. No, actually, I don't think so. I don't think so. It's yeah, it might be carving out something down here, but it might just be a retracement up to this level. So there might be something there, but. I'm not sure that's the area I'd want to necessarily go long from. When we look at this on a longer term time frame, on the 15, we can see why that there would be some interest at this particular point. Maybe that reason there, a little false breakout there, but that's why there can be some interest here. But I don't see that much excitement going on just yet, mate. So no, there's the hourly, which is a better way to look at it actually. Yeah, the hourly would suggest that there could be some, could be a hold here, but as I say, not really seeing too much interest at this point, mate. So I think anything that pops up may well be driven straight back down again, and we might well see this daily pivot tested before the US Open is to happen. So anybody that did get on the short up here, I would stick with it, ride it, and see if you can get to the daily pivot.
Sounds like a plan to me. I love that daily pivot.
Yes, I've learned to love it too.
It's my thing. Okay. Should I have a look at the 30-minute charts?
Yeah, let's do that. And then if there's nothing else, we can probably wrap for the day. I think we've pretty much covered everything. But yeah, let's quickly do that, and then we'll move on.
Okay, we need to talk about Ravinder's comments there.
Okay.
Before we go, of course. All right, pound has done very, very little. In fact, probably less than little. Mini, is it less than? How do you do less than little? I'm not sure. But anyway, let's go and see what we can find. Nothing's changed on the Aussie pairs for me. I drew this line across here earlier just to see how close we were to actually closing the gap. Am I going to call that a gap close?
Let's have a look.
I think I'm happy. It's not. Technically, it's not. It's missed by a few pips. But
yeah, close enough.
I'm okay with that. I think it's probably been the instigator of this little back off that level anyway. I'm happy to call that a closed gap. So we're very good at making things suit our own cause
definition. Yeah. Oh, of course.
So
only way to be, mate.
Well, yeah, it's kind of just cheating. It's almost cheating. Let's call it benefit of the doubt. Let's call it that. So yeah, everything's still the same. And I'm on a 4-hour chart. It doesn't matter what chart this does it on, as long as it gets underneath this level here and then retests it. I'm all good with that. I can trade it down to there as well, as long as I've got room to take profit before the daily pivot. Speaking of the daily pivot, as we do, and I just don't know that I'm going to have that opportunity because the gap or the space, if you like, is very, very limited. Even if I were to enter the market there at the optimal level, probably got a 12, 13 pip stop or something like that. I do have enough room, I suppose. I could even call that one to one. So yeah, I'm watching that. Watch this space. What do I need to see to achieve that? Okay, won't trade into the low of the day without profit. So that would be my profit level. A little break and a retest, even we could probably stand that. But I think what I would like to see is either one of these bars sitting here, or even here or here. Don't care where it is, or maybe something like that little indecisive bar followed by a decisive bullish bar sitting here. That would do. But taking profit definitely before the daily pivot and anticipating the break back underneath here, right? That's what I'll be looking for. So back to the 4-hour chart. This is really what I'm waiting for, and I'll be stalking this until the weekends. Back under here, retest. That is the key for me on the 4-hour chart. Back underneath all of this mess, then retest, bang, away we go. I really, really will be disappointed if I wake up on Monday morning and Aussie's broken through the lows here and I haven't had a chance to get in here. That would really disappoint me because I've been sweating on it all week. This is Aussie yen, of course, not Aussie dollar, but they're all the same. Aussie Swissy hasn't broken that resistance, which is interesting, but you can see the pivots are still here. If it were to bounce back underneath here and retest the pivots, even though we haven't got a classic my strategy set up, I'd be willing to take that. But the interesting part here is we haven't reached what I consider to be the third point of not no return, but the third point of returning to trend, which is this level here, which is 66.13. I'd really like to see this break through here, hit that level, then come back underneath the lot. Daily pivot, monthly pivot, trend line, then retest them. Same applies. Aussie US dollar, same, hasn't hit or hasn't breached the resistance level. This is going to be extremely tough to trade until it does. Why? Because we're just above the weekly pivot. That's going to be the issue here. So I really need to see this break, then come back underneath probably everything and retest it. I want to get an entry under the weekly pivot, not above it. So Aussie US dollar is probably not going to be the one for me. Aussie CAD's upside down, and I'm going to find this extremely difficult to trade. I've said this all week as well because I've got a dead set bias short against the Aussie. How can I trade it long against the CAD? But the technical scenario I have here in the market structure is telling me that we've come back inside a range. So a retest of the monthly pivot here and deliverance of a higher low, I have to think about trading this long to the top of the range, and I will, because that will be obvious scenario for me. Aussie Kiwi has pretty much already gone. It's out of not out of sight, but I was saying that. No, I'm okay with what it's doing, but it's the same applies with Aussie CAD. How can I be bullish the Aussie? I can't. But is it a race to the bottom with the Kiwi? They're all in the same boat, aren't they? Aussie, Kiwi, CAD. They're all commodity currencies.
Yeah, is that the fear for you? Do you think because of what's changing with the environment?
Yes, it is, and
Yeah.
I really can't line these up as well as I'd like to be able to line them up. If you look at oil, for instance,
Yeah.
Depends on what that does today as to how the CAD's going to react as well. If this bounces off the weekly pivot and continues its short, shall I say, waterfall, I could probably say that with safety, then the CAD is not going to be anywhere near the strength that it really, on other fundamental bases, would suggest that it should be stronger than the Aussie. But oil is keeping it, capped big time. Pardon the pun there, I suppose. So if oil was to rally, then I think Aussie CAD is just not an option, not an option at all. But whilst ever, I guess oil is falling, then Aussie CAD long is an option because the weighted index, if you like, or relative strength, then tilts its way back in favour of the Aussie. How can I say that? I don't know. I really don't know how I can say that, but that's the way it looks to me. Euro dollar we've already spoken about. It's untradeable where it is. I can't go short, and at this point in time, I can't go long. We are at a big base here. You scalpers can probably trade long here. I can't. Would definitely need to see well, I don't know, a resistance hit. And where's the resistance? Well, the resistance, the daily pivot, we've already been there. Then pull back off it and give me a higher low to go long the euro. But that is not my bias. My bias is short. So with that in mind, I'm in a very bad position. I just can't find my way in here. I'd have to rally back to these levels. The only way I can go short is to go short off resistance, and I don't have resistance here to trade short off, so that's kind of out of the question. Why are these people annoying me at this time? I don't know. This one's interesting as well, mate. Euro yen. I am a bear, as you know, the euro, and I have no idea why we're not risk off at the moment. So that kind of puts me in. Okay, I want to see the yen strengthen against the euro. I can definitely see a launch pad here because we're refusing to go through the monthly pivot. Sounds like a great opportunity to get short here to me.
Yeah.
How am I going to do that is the question. Let's look at the 30-minute chart. Oh, gee whiz. Looks interesting. I like this. I do like this. Can I get in is the question. I'd probably like to see this break and then be retested. That would be awesome. So break here, take out this low would be good, then retest the confluence area. That'll get me short euro yen, but I'll be watching this one now. That's definitely on my watch list because I do like what I'm seeing here. If it broke above the monthly pivot, then came back underneath it, same applies. I'll be looking for a false break of the monthly pivot. Yeah, looking at that one with intent. Pound Aussie was the other one, and I do have an order on Pound Aussie, as you can probably see there. I placed this morning on the daily chart. It's a long, not a short. I'll share that with you. And I'm trading this bar here as a bounce off. I'll call it soft support, but again, so bearish the Aussie, and I'm willing to even risk the pound rallying, which I think it can. I've got no qualms about that, but it's just so volatile at the moment. You've got to take profit very early, which I'm doing here. If we do get in this, I'm taking profit at very logical places and very early in the piece. So get relatively safe here and get super safe here so that we can't lose. And then if it does go through the top here, happy days, we'll get a good run out of it. It's Pound Aussie long. It is a massively bad reward risk trade in the first instance, but after that it gets better. So entry is at 1.9369 if you want to follow it. I've got a stop loss of 194 pips, which is basically covering this candle here. And I'm taking profit one at 51 pips. So it's a quarter to one, not the time, but the risk factor on the first part of this position. I'm going to get rid of a third of the position on that point. Then I'll go just about 1-to-1 for second take profit around about the weekly pivot mark, which is 187 pips away, and then it's free for all. Just let it rip from there. And if it does go through here, that's when we'll get some good profit. Otherwise, it'll just be a ho hum sort of trade. But if we get to here, we'll be okay. Rightio, mates. That is now me, I believe. Ravinda, what have you got for us? Hi, Chandra. How you doing, bud?
Yeah, good morning, by the way,
Uh,
guys. Good morning. I don't know if we said that, but good morning, Ravinda. Good morning, Chandra and LT. I'm sure he's out there.
and Chris, Chris got a question for the footsie.
Yep.
We'll come back to that when we go to your screen.
Okay.
What else have we got here? We've got. Thanks, guys, for all the comments. Ravinder's point yesterday with the coronavirus and the 14-day deadline should have been the 11th of Feb, count of 2 weeks. But when the holiday was finished, and the holiday was ended in 3 days, hence the reason I picked the 14th. Okay, for Friday. So technically the 11th, but 14th. Watching both of those dates, I would think, because we'll be coming out of the incubation period. Thanks, mate, for that. But the entire week, I would consider critical, and the latest update is where we are flying back on the 17th to Hong Kong. Cheers, mate. Much appreciated. Current update is this. What about RBA speech tomorrow in Oz? I'm not sure what Philip Lowe is talking about tomorrow. I'll have a look at that in a tick when Ash is going through the footsie. From Chris, what factors do we consider when we choose to trade pairs like Aussie Euro instead of Aussie US dollar?
Great
Relative
question.
strength for me,
Yeah.
Chris. It's all to do with, okay, what's going on with the euro versus the US dollar, what's going on with the Aussie versus the US dollar, and having a look at, are they at support, are they at resistance?
I think that's
Then
the other
I'll,
thing, isn't it? Yeah, because you're also looking at a technical aspect. That's why I looked at the Euro was. It wasn't anything to do with the fundamentals at the time. It was purely a technical price point.
yes, but then, I do it in reverse. You
Hmm.
come to a technical after a fundamental, I come to a fundamental after a technical.
Yes. Yes.
But, both of them need to be considered.
Yes.
Because just jumping into the market because you've got an isolated candle sitting somewhere is a crazy thing to do. Done it 100 times. I can tell you the result of that. It's not good for the bank account. But they're the sort of things that I look at. I look at the technical situation as to where the Aussie is versus the dollar, and where the euro is versus the dollar. And if one's at support and the other's at resistance, then it becomes a very clear picture from a technical perspective. But then I look at, okay, what news have we had on the Aussie today? And we've had bad news, bang, bang, both misses. And this is why I just don't understand, Chris, why the Aussie is still floating in cyberspace as far as I'm concerned. It's way above where it needs to be, or where it should be, in my opinion. So when I look at both of those things, there's only one track for me, and that's Euro Aussie has to be long for me from that perspective. Chandra, hi mate. Oil seems bearish, right? Broke strong level daily. Yes, it did, and is retesting that today. I agree with that. So that could be interesting for an ABC short. Extremely oversold, however, and very difficult for me to jump into that short at the moment. But a derivative of that, which I believe to be the CAD, if we were to have a bearish approach today, I think anything against the CAD might be interesting as well. Okay, LT, good morning to you, mates. Aussie Kiwi seems going to break upside. Could well, mate. Absolutely could well. But that would absolutely defy. Well, not so much Aussie Kiwi, because I'm not too sure. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, it looks like it is going to break. You're right. But don't you think it's a little bit overextended at the moment? I think it is. Why is the Aussie outpacing the Kiwi? I don't know, and I can't wait for Sunday to talk to Paul and to Julian to find out what's going on there, because they were quite bullish, the Kiwi, only a couple of weeks ago. So I'm not sure what's going on there, to be fair. Haven't followed the Kiwi news. And do we have Kiwi news? I thought we had Kiwi news this week. In fact, we had unemployment figures, didn't we? Let's check on that. That was yesterday, wasn't it? No. I thought we had unemployment figures on the Kiwi this week. We did. We did. And the unemployment rate fell. So that should be bullish for the Kiwi. Adds to my confusion. Chandra. Okay, I think I need to retire. If this doesn't come back, I need to retire as a trader, because everything I've learned over many, many years is that this cannot continue to rally, given what we've seen. We've seen an unemployment rate on the Kiwi this week drop from 4.2 to 4.0. Oh, sorry, the forecast was 4.2. The trend on the unemployment rate on the Kiwi is incredibly down, as it is on most currencies. I've got to say that. But that is the figure. That's the headline figure. The employment change was pretty much non-event. But when the unemployment rate drops, as I said before on the Aussie, that's exactly what Philip Lowe's looking at the moment to determine whether he's going to cut interest rates. So that's how important that figure is to central bankers. So Aussie rallying against the Kiwi? Question mark, mate. Look for a short. That's my advice. Maybe it is just timing to the charts, yes. Look, at the end of the day, these anomalies are doing one thing for me. They're providing me with a great opportunity to get good prices. That's what I feel anyway. And I just have to be patient and wait for the setups. If they don't come, they don't come. Guess what? Always next week. Sorry, Ash. Back to you and the footsie.
Yeah. So what's the question there?
Okay, the question is from Chris. Is the pip count from 2 decimal places, e.g. 1750.32, 2 will be counted as 1 pip? Is the same for gold?
I see.
SP 500 and WTI.
So with the FTSE UK, you're looking at 75.10, and then the next numbers are the one that you're looking at: 75.10.56, 75.13. 75.10 and 75.13. You're looking at the last ones, but you want to look at the 10 and the 13. The difference is the 3 pips. Does that make sense? Shall I show you?
Is that good, Chris?
If not, I can show you on the screen. Let me show you on the screen.
Do that, mate. Yep. Picture paints 1,000 words, I'm told.
Yeah, apparently so. Okay. Well, let's paint the picture instead then.
Kikuchu, is he still around?
Who?
Not Harry Nielsen, but the Lollipop Cop.
Lollipop Cop. Oh, Kojak.
Kojak.
Telly Savalas. I don't know, actually. I'm not sure about him anymore.
Yeah, he wouldn't be as old as Kirk Douglas.
No, I wouldn't. I don't know. He's got to be close, actually. I don't know. So you should be looking at this here, 74. In fact, you're looking at the UK 100 instead. So you should be looking at 75. It's the 04 and the 05. Forget this last thing here. That's for the big guns. Those numbers are for the big guns. So if you put on one, in my case, it'd be one lot here on the 75.06. Then you'd be putting every time it goes. If it goes up to 75.07 on the buy side, sorry, you buy it at 75.07. As soon as the sell price gets to 75.08, then you've made £1. Hopefully that explains it. There's a little bit of price action coming into play at this level. There's the bulls are trying to fight back a little bit. I'm not that interested, I have to say, mate, but the bulls are trying to hold on to a level right down here right now, as you can see.
Yep.
We do have a price point, and there probably will be a bounce here, but I don't love these. I mean, this bar's good, but I don't love how the price action is just. It just doesn't look very convinced at this particular stage. I'd like to see this kind of like meander here, maybe test this low again, or I'd still like this daily pivot down here, but it looks like the price point is getting caught here a little bit. So this could be where the long is, I suppose. That's the takeaway right now. It could be where the long is, but I'd want to see this develop just a little bit more. Probably move up to that point, then come back in, and then see if there's some follow through. Would be better than just jumping in on the first phase. But yeah, that's pretty much me, mate. I don't have too much else today. I don't know why the market is is reacting in the way it is. I'm interested to know. I will do some research when I get off air whether this is a a move to the downside because of a bit of a hangover, or because we actually start to get some realization that yesterday's move was on sawdust, really. It had no foundation whatsoever as far as I could see. But the and the thing is, speculators will be quite happy to let everybody in, just so they can sell at a better price. And I wonder whether that's what will go on, or whether we actually do have something of a market rally about to start. But I need to do a little bit of reading and a little bit of listening when we get off air, mate, to know what's going on there.
Yeah, funny you should mention that. Ravinder's just asked a similar question. Isn't it because institutions are pushing beyond the liquidity area to wipe off the traders like us and then move up? Could well be, mates.
Yeah, and that's the problem, isn't it? I mean, it's a difficult thing because as soon as you start getting paranoid about the market, you start second guessing it and then don't make the right decision. So, in a way, we can't really think like that. We just got to go with the chart. But unfortunately, everybody knows that happens. So you end up, recognizing that could well be what's going on. But the way to mitigate that is just get a good price.
And that's why I'm a great fan of trading false breaks.
Yes.
Ravinder.
Yes.
And if I see that occurring, and that's exactly what I've just described to you guys for the last week. That's why I want to see price rally, then come back underneath the resistance, and then give me an entry. That's exactly what I want to see. So if we're breaking out of a range, then I think we can actually trade the bar that breaks underneath it. But if it then comes back and only tests the breakout area, you've probably got a good case to trade it long. It's got to come back underneath that breakout area for me to get interested in short. So point taken, and absolutely 100% you're on the money, and it's very good that you notice that because it can save you a lot of money. Right, mate. I think I am DONE.
Was that, mate?
No, done, mate.
Okay, yeah, me too. All right, well, I think that's us for the week, actually, isn't it? But appreciate everybody joining us, and actually appreciate the questions as well. I'm a bit distracted today because I'm just I've literally got everything just screaming at me right now. I've got
He's in
charts
management
everywhere.
mode, guys.
I'm in management mode. Yeah.
That's his favourite place to be on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Better than a Friday.
Yeah. We'll see how we go. I mean, it's things are going okay right now, which is why I'm focused just to make sure that I don't take my eye off the ball. I guess. So yes, I am in management mode, which distracts me. So I hope next Monday that will be all fixed up, and I'll be able to focus a bit more on everybody and be able to give you some other decent trades. I also hope that somebody got into that the FTSE short, because that was a
well done
downside. So yeah, we'll see what happens next week. But for right now, we will say we'll be back on Monday, same trade time, same trade channel. And have a great weekend, Jeff.
Just before you go,
yep.
Chris has got one more follow-up.
Yep.
Thanks for explaining the pips. Just to confirm, when we trade ATW account on SPX 100 or FTSE 100, the smallest or eligible will be one lot.
I think you can go lower than that.
I don't know.
Do you know, mate? I have to say that is out of my pay grade, if you like. When it comes down to the accounts, I don't really know.
Okay, Chris, that's question for.
That's a question
contacted
for James.
Actions to Wealth.
Yeah, I mean, do you know, because I thought it was the lowest, but I think you can go incrementally lower than that. I'm pretty sure Paul told me you can go incrementally lower than that. So I don't think that's
LT
right.
saying he's traded 0.5 before.
So. There you go. Okay, thanks, LT. Appreciate you getting us out of a hole there. That's just not my field of expertise, mate. I've got to be honest. I only go one and above, if you like. So I've never done fractions, but I have been told by Paul that you can do fractions. So you can. I think you pretty much can. But yeah, that, as I say, that's beyond where I'm able to advise. I don't know whether you're allowed to. I don't know what you're allowed to do with those. What the agreement is that you've had with those accounts. So I hope that helps. I know it doesn't, but I hope I've cleared my name a bit anyway.
Ash is big. Good on you, LT.
Right then. Okay, guys. Well, yeah, we'll see you Monday then. Have a great weekend, Jeff. Have a great rest of the week and a great weekend, buddy.
You too, buddy, and everyone else. Enjoy your weekend, and let's come back nice and bright and fresh, and hopefully with some coin in the tank. That'd be good. What time Monday, man?
Oh, 5 to 8 on Monday, buddy.
That's the date. Don't you be late, guys. See ya. Have a good one.
See you guys. See you soon.